In the late 1980s, London, the financial and cultural center of England, was not only famous for its skyscrapers, theaters, and bustling shopping streets. Behind that prosperity was a thriving underworld where criminal gangs fought for territory, manipulated money, and spread fear throughout the community. In that chaotic picture, one name made the police force especially wary: the Addams family, also known as the Clerkenwell Crime Syndicate. The organization is headed by three Irish brothers, Terry, Tommy, and Patrick Addams. Unlike the noisy, ostentatious gangs that flaunt violence on the streets, the Addams family chooses to operate in a sophisticated manner like a legitimate business group. They have built a huge money laundering network, engaged in drug trafficking, controlled extortion, and even planted people in the legitimate economic and political system to conceal their activities. It was this secretiveness, ruthlessness, and extreme professionalism that prompted the British media to give them a haunting nickname, London Mafia. This name not only reflected the gang's dangerous level, but also showed how they had elevated street crime to the level of an underground empire, directly challenging British law for decades to come. The Addams family originates from Clerkenwell, a working-class area of North London that is notorious for street violence and organized crime. It is in this environment that three brothers, Terry, Tommy, and Patrick Addams, grow up and gradually enter the underworld through illegal activities such as smuggling goods, theft, and violent assault. Initially, they were just mid-level gangsters, cooperating with other local criminal groups to survive. But thanks to the recklessness, intrigue, and especially the cold calculation ability of Terry Addams, the eldest brother, this gang quickly established a foothold. They used violence to spread fear, at the same time taking advantage of loopholes in the legal system to expand their power. The Addams family climbed the ranks of London's major criminal gangs. They not only controlled drug and arms smuggling, but also expanded into extortion from businesses, building a tight protection network. Notably, unlike many other gangs that were noisy and easy to catch, the Addams family operated quietly, calculating like an underground financial group, making it a big challenge for the police to track them down. That beginning was the foundation for the Addams family to gradually become one of the most notorious and powerful criminal organizations in the United Kingdom, with the haunting title, British Mafia. While Tommy and Patrick were known as the violent enforcers, Terry Addams was the real brains of the organization. He not only acted as the leader, but also designed the entire financial structure to hide the huge profits from crime. Terry soon learned that violence may help gain territory, but money is what consolidates long-term power. Instead of leaving cash easily traceable, he built a sophisticated money laundering network, using accountants, lawyers, and financial experts to legitimize dirty money. Terry's network spanned London, bars and restaurants, where drug and extortion money was legitimized through fake revenues, front companies, registered under other people's names to move money around. Real estate, from rental apartments to commercial buildings, all became a cover for investing and storing assets. The Addams family not only escaped the direct attention of the police, but also infiltrated the legitimate economic flow of London. Terry became a quiet, unassuming boss. But behind the suits, conference tables, and contracts was a criminal empire with a turnover of hundreds of millions of pounds. After nearly 2 decades of being on the run and virtually immune to the law, Terry Addams finally faced justice. After years of persistent investigation, the Serious Organized Crime Agency, SOCA, had gathered enough evidence about the tycoon's shady financial activities. In 2007, the Old Bailey, where the most serious cases in the UK are tried, found Terry Addams guilty of money laundering of more than £1 million. The sentence was 7 years in prison, along with a confiscation order worth £750,000. This was not just a legal judgment, but also the first major blow to the Addams family's financial empire. For Terry, who was known as an economic brain, the loss of a huge fortune and a prison sentence exposed a fatal weakness. No matter how sophisticated, dirty money eventually leaves traces. The 2007 verdict became a turning point, opening the gradual collapse of the London Mafia, an organization that had made the police wary for many years. Not long after his release from prison after a 2007 money laundering conviction, Terry Adams was back in trouble with the law. Under a financial reporting order, FRO, a strict financial supervision order imposed by the court, he was required to honestly report all his income, expenses, and assets. But instead of complying, Terry revealed his arrogance and his insatiable luxury habits. During the 2011 investigation, police uncovered a series of evidence that the boss was still living like a secret millionaire. Expensive Cartier watches kept in secret, cosmetic surgeries and high-end spa treatments, large cash spending on fancy meals and luxury services. All of that was completely contrary to the statement Terry presented to the authorities. Not only did his pretending to be poor and miserable not fool the police, but it also became evidence that he continued to circumvent the law and disregard the financial supervision system. This arrest not only exposed Terry's true face, but also seriously damaged the image of the closeted boss of the Adams family. The public then clearly saw this empire was no longer as impregnable as before, but was gradually cracking from within. After his extravagant lifestyle was exposed, Terry Adams continued to be embroiled in a protracted legal battle over his remaining assets. Since 2014, he has repeatedly applied to reduce the amount of restitution he was ordered to pay following a 2007 money laundering conviction. Terry has always claimed that he is broke and unable to pay. However, judges at the Old Bailey and the authorities were not convinced. They argued that his previous lavish lifestyle, from designer watches to cash to expensive services, proved that Terry still had undeclared sources of money. The standoff lasted 3 years until 2017, when Terry finally came to terms. To avoid the risk of being rearrested for failing to meet his financial obligations, he agreed to pay a total of £725,000. The payment marked one of Terry Adams's most bitter defeats. Not only did it severely dent his once impregnable financial empire, it also showed that the British legal system had finally found a way to crack the impenetrable shell he had built up over decades. Terry was the brains of the financial network, while his younger brother Tommy Adams was the middleman between money and logistics, ensuring the smooth running of the gang's operations, from drug trafficking to money laundering. In 1998, Tommy faced his first major setback in his criminal career. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison for his part in an £8 million hashish smuggling ring. It was one of the most significant cases, marking the police finally getting to the bottom of the Adams family's underground operations. Tommy was also ordered by the court to pay back £6 million, the amount of money that was said to be ill-gotten profits from smuggling activities. However, after a lengthy appeal process, this figure was reduced to £1 million. Notably, the amount was not directly paid by Tommy, but by his wife, who brought it to court to fulfill her husband's obligation. The case illustrates 2 key points. One is Tommy's influence in maintaining the Adams family's cash flow, and 2 is the family's loyalty and complicity, a factor that makes it difficult for authorities to trace the gang's true assets. After serving his sentence for drug trafficking, Tommy Adams did not give up his criminal career. Instead of hiding, he continued to act as the financial coordinator for the gang and was once again caught. In 2017, Tommy was sentenced to 7 years in prison for money laundering. This was considered one of the important victories of the anti-organized crime force, because this time the police worked closely with MI5 to deal a surprise blow to the Adams family. The key point in the investigation was that the security services had secretly bugged Andrew's restaurant, Holborn, a popular place where Tommy met with business partners and discussed business. The recordings uncovered a plan to transport £250,000 in cash from Manchester to London. The money bypassed the banking system, but was organized to be transported by taxi and train, avoiding any electronic traces. That seemingly inconspicuous method became direct evidence against Tommy. The 2017 trial not only confirmed his crucial role in maintaining the money bloodline of the Adams family, but also proved that even the most cunning cannot escape modern surveillance technology and the persistence of British investigative agencies. Following his 2017 money laundering conviction, Tommy Adams faced another heavy financial blow. In 2020, a court ordered him to pay back £1,243,270.75, an amount determined to be profits from previous illegal activities. This was not simply a refund, but also a radical measure to strip the Adams family of its financial resources. Because for decades, the family's true power came not from violence or prestige, but from the ability to turn dirty money into legal assets, nurturing an entire underground empire. The 2020 verdict marked the end of Tommy's arrogance, proving that even the most carefully concealed profits could be traced and seized. It also sent a powerful message. The British legal system was determined to tear down the economic foundations of the London Mafia. It was thought that after a series of prison sentences and asset seizures, Tommy Adams would withdraw from big deals. However, in 2025, the Times newspaper caused a stir when it revealed that he was involved in a £20 million VAT fraud. According to investigative documents, HMRC, UK Revenue and Customs, recorded secret meetings in Manchester from 2013, in which Tommy and some partners discussed ways to circumvent the law to appropriate VAT refunds. This is a sophisticated form of economic crime, often supported by gangs with financial experts to siphon off public funds on a large scale. Although evidence showed that Tommy was present at the discussions, the authorities only stopped at determining that he was involved, not having enough legal basis to prosecute. However, the appearance of Tommy's name in a multi-million-pound fraud case has deepened the image of a financial tycoon who defies the law, who has never really left the underworld. The 2025 event also shows that, despite being caught many times, the Adams family continues to infiltrate the black economy, maintaining the fearsome title of London Mafia on the European crime map. Compared to Terry and Tommy, Patrick Adams has been less visible in the press, but that doesn't mean he's any less dangerous. Patrick is considered the Adams family's man in the shadows, often staying out of the limelight to run violent operations and internal payoffs. For years, Patrick has been suspected of being behind assaults, extortion, and killings of rivals to protect the family's North London turf. He is also believed to have been involved in running arms and drug smuggling routes into and out of the capital. In 2016, Patrick and his wife were arrested in the Netherlands under an international arrest warrant after being accused of assaulting and blackmailing a London businessman. Although the case did not result in a heavy sentence, it cemented Patrick's image as the cold, violent arm of the Adams clan. Patrick's silent but ruthless presence completes the London Mafia puzzle. Terry, the financial brain; Tommy, the money and logistics coordinator; Patrick, the violent arm in the shadows. The three brothers combined to form a power triangle that took the British police decades to gradually break down. For years, the Adams family had been a headache for both the London police and the intelligence agencies. Raids, arrests, and prison sentences seem to have only temporarily staggered the group, but not completely eradicated its economic power. However, from the mid-2000s, a new strategy was deployed: follow the money. Rather than focusing solely on proving violent crimes, the British police and HM Revenue and Customs coordinated the application of financial reporting orders and confiscation orders. These are legal measures that allow the state not only to detain, but also to compel the recovery of the money, assets, and illegal profits that the gang had accumulated. Terry Adams was forced to pay hundreds of thousands of pounds and lose control of his vast fortune. Tommy Adams was repeatedly brought before the courts, ordered to forfeit more than £1.2 million, and was also investigated for tax fraud. With the financial bloodline cut off, the Adams family's real power, which was based on turning dirty money into legal money, began to falter and was seriously weakened. The hit-the-pocket strategy not only brought down one of Britain's most dangerous criminal organizations, but also became a template for how to deal with modern mafia gangs. To destroy them, you first have to destroy the financial source that fueled the entire underground empire. The Adams family, once known as the London Mafia, no longer has the aura of invulnerability. The two most powerful figures, Terry and Tommy Adams, have both passed through prison multiple times, faced heavy sentences, and a series of asset confiscation orders that have almost completely eroded their ill-gotten wealth. From their early days in Clerkenwell, the three Adams brothers built an underground empire based on violence, smuggling, and illegal finance. However, the British legal system has proven that the power of crime is not only broken by guns, but also by patience and a strategy of hitting the pocket. In the world of crime, it sometimes doesn't take a bloody reckoning or a brutal hit to bring down an empire. A single wrongful invoice, an undeclared expense, or a bag of cash that has been tracked down. All it takes is a gang to tear down the walls of power that have been built up over the years. The Adams family has become a classic lesson in the history of British organized crime, demonstrating that the law may be slow, but it will always follow through. What do you think when the police chose to use financial means instead of violence to take down the Adams family? Is this the most effective way to take down the mafia? If you found the video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment. Your opinion might be featured in the next video.